Dillian, the body snatcher right here. It's a champ. Big up to Sporting Icon. Subscribe. Otherwise, I might pay you guys a visit.
Right, so this video will close out 2018 as far as the heavyweight rankings go. Now, a lot of you guys would have seen my previous video from about a week ago with the heavyweight rankings, but at that time we knew that there were some fights coming up. And now this past weekend with some heavyweight fights happening, we can now see a final standing for the heavyweight division. Of course, I'm using Boxrec. This is a point system and should be unbiased. I'm not using the sanctioning bodies, WBC, WBA, WBO, IBF, etc. because, as we know, there could be some favoritism here or there within the sanctioning bodies to help out the promoters, managers and certain fighters within there. Boxrec shouldn't be having that. It's all a point system. So this video here will be the final standings for 2018 as to how it ends. And there are some noticeable changes from 1 week ago to now with the heavyweight fights happening just gone. So I'm just going to talk about the top 15, which is the most noticeable. But of course, I will give some mentions as well that obviously the likes of Nathan Gorman, he fought Razvan Kajan, who's past weekend got a points win. So he's at number 32 now. Carlos Takam, he beat Gashi by very, very good performance and of course stoppage. So he's at number 33 as well. So some good standings for them. And there's been some noticeable changes at the top end of the table, which is what you guys have been most interested in. So we're going to do the top 15 for here. Now, originally Derek Chisora, he was in the top 15, but because he lost to Dillian Whyte this past weekend, he's now dropped out of the top 15 and he will be in at number 16 after he got knocked out. And Robert Helenia is just hovering outside the top 15 at number 17 as well. So he's going to be looking to make a real big push on that, as will Filip Hrgovic at number 18. Also, you've got the European champion, Ajit Kabiel, at number 21. You got Andy Ruiz Jr., who's on a bit of a comeback. And hopefully 2019, we're going to see a lot more of him. Sergey Kuzmin, number 23. And number 25, Hughie Fury. So, into the top 15. Number 15, Charles Martin, just hanging on by the skin of his teeth to keep his top 15 ranking. Last time out, he lost to Adam Kaunaki, of course, in a very, very good fight. So he keeps his top 15. Number 14, Bryant Jennings. Now, Bryant Jennings, he does have a fight coming up in about 2 or 3 weeks' time with Oscar Rivas, the undefeated Colombian. That would be an excellent fight, that one. So maybe if Bryant Jennings can get a win over this guy, we'll see Bryant Jennings potentially move into the top 10. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm still perplexed as to why Marco Huck is keeping a top 15 position when he's predominantly a cruiserweight. Okay, but he does have the odd fight here and there at heavyweight. That's probably why he's on there. But number 13, for me, is ridiculous. I don't think he can beat anybody in the top 25, in my opinion. But listen, you never know. Christian Hammer, the WBO European champion, at number 12. As I said, he's not the European champion, as Kabiel is, but Christian Hammer does hold a version of it, the WBO version of European champion, so number 12. Number 11, so Adam Kaunaki dropped out of the top 10, but he does have a fight coming up within the next couple of weeks against Gerald Washington, which will be a very good step up for him, that's for sure. Should he win that one, expect him to make an assault on the top 10 as well. Joseph Parker just makes the top 10 to end 2018 after a pretty much horrible year for him, where he lost his O in a unification against Anthony Joshua. Next fight, in a massive fight against Dillian Whyte, he lost that one on points. But of course, about a week or two ago, he did win over Alexander Flores by knockout, brutal knockout as well. He was using some dirty tactics, no doubt. But anyway, he keeps his position as a top 10, or back in the top 10 at least anyway, with number 10. Dominic Breazeale makes a return to the top 10. A win over Carlos Negron the past weekend. Obviously, inactivity hasn't helped him at all. He is a WBC mandatory, but because of that win, he's now back in at the top 10 at number 9. Luis Ortiz keeps his place in the top 10 with number 8 position. And Kubrat Pulev, after over a year out and a win over Hughie Fury, is back in. And he has a very good position of number 7. Of course, the IBF mandatory as well as. Jarrell Miller, he was in the top 5. Now he's number 6. And you'll see why in a second. Because Dillian Whyte, with a win over Derek Chisora this past weekend by knockout, jumped Jarrell Miller. A lot of people saying on the previous video, why is it that Jarrell Miller is above Dillian Whyte when Dillian Whyte's had great victories over former world champion, undefeated Lucas Brown, and of course former world champion Joseph Parker. But as I said to you guys beforehand, a lot of this is going to be dependent on whether or not he beats Derek Chisora, which I fully expected him to, and that's what he done. So he jumped Jarrell Miller to make it into the top 5. I was kind of expecting him to be at number 4 to potentially overtake Alexander Povetkin, but that didn't happen. Povetkin keeps his position at number 4. That's because of his resume is stellar for a great number of years. But for me, Dillian Whyte, he has had arguably the best resume this year. He really has, with Lucas Brown, with Joseph Parker, and of course ending the saga with Dillian Whyte and Derek Chisora. So anyway, Povetkin keeps number 4. Tyson Fury number 3. He should be number 2 in my position, or in my opinion, because he did beat Deontay Wilder. That's my opinion, and that's probably like 90% of the boxing world agrees that he should be number 2. He should be the WBC heavyweight champion right now in a fight that should never ever have gone 12 rounds, should never even have gone the halfway point, especially after everything that he's gone through, and then comes back for 2 taxi drivers and then gets in there with Wilder on Wilder's home soil, and then gets a decision going against him with a draw, which is absolutely disgusting, but it is what it is. Speaking of Wilder, keeps his position as number 2 because he is still the WBC heavyweight champion by default, of course, because he got a draw. But as we said, Tyson Fury should be number 2. He should be the WBC champion. And of course, number 1 by one hellacious points difference, Anthony Joshua. So just by going on the points, I think that Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury could go in there against Anthony Joshua, beat Anthony Joshua, but Anthony Joshua's got that much of a point advantage that he will probably keep his number 1 position. That's how far the wide gap is. So anyway, that is exactly what's happening now. That closes 2018. So Dillian Whyte finished in at a top 5 with a 5 position. Dominic Breazeale returns to the top 10 with number 9. Joseph Parker returns to number 10 as well. And of course, there's a few fights coming up in January which could disrupt some of that. So anyway, that's the heavyweight news. You drop your thoughts below, click that thumbs up, and of course subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.